I don't know. I'm just so used to seeing them with long hair, and that's what that's what just I think of an elf, and I think long, beautiful hair and pointy ears. That's all I think about when I think of an elf, and they shoot bows and arrows. That's all I think about. It's hard to see somebody with not long hair. That's my issue with those elves. And before we get into the big character elf, Celebrimbor, really cool, like we talked about before. Excited to see him more involved in starting the forging of the rings. Elrond, like I said, I like him, and even though he's way younger than Galadriel, and if you guys didn't know, correct me if I'm wrong, I looked at my Silmarillion genealogy chart. Um, Elrond is Galadriel's great. No. She's her. They're like fourth or fifth cousins or something like that. Because, and if you didn't know, Galadriel is Arwen's grandmother. Because Galadriel marries. Galadriel marries Elrond's son. No, that's not right. No, Celeborn is not her son. What is it again? I forget. It's in my book. It's like literally right in front of me, but they're related, and I wish they would have kind of like mentioned that, but I guess the relation is very long, and I mean technically, I mean they all come from a couple people, so. But anywho, Arendir again. I think seeing him now, like if they put long hair on him now, I'd be like he would look weird. But and the biggest comparison Rings of Power has right now is House of the Dragon, and I'm loving that show. Episode 3 just came out a couple days ago, and it was a little slow, but I still liked it. But like I look at like Damon from that show, like he looks like an elf, and like he has that like that ashen hair, he has that face, the pale skin. That's like Legolas right there. You're just a little bit more pale. So I'm like, you guys could have slapped some like dreads like the other guy who's in in House of Dragon, like on Arendir. You could have him with dreads. Like he probably would look pretty cool. Like if he had like a lot of the elves do, they have that braid going in the middle, and then the rest of the hair goes down. Like he probably look pretty cool. Like you guys couldn't do that. Like that would have been cool. I don't know. But and another thing, like I'm really into history, and especially medieval history, and like you always see like in films, like everybody always has like big beards and long hair, but it's because they didn't have the tools to be giving people high top fades and tapers and all that stuff. The hair grew so long because of the tools that they had. They couldn't just be like shaving close to the head, and if they did, it was always patchy because of the tools that they had. They were very like nothing. They didn't have anything crazy. And if Tolkien wrote this like extremely old, Western European area, but like thousands of years before like we knew of history, then you'd be, something to argue that they didn't have the same tools. But then again, like they're pretty advanced, like in the Elven world, so like they could have. So I don't know. That's just like that's a whole world building thing. Like we don't have to talk about. But I just wish the elves had longer hair. But again, just a nitpick. Just a lot of things that I don't like are nitpicks. Chiefest of the elven characters in this show is Galadriel, however you want to call her, Lady G. She has a lot to prove for me. It's a big character to fill, not just by Cate Blanchett's standards in the books, in the Silmarillion. It's a big shoes to fill, and I've like this podcast that I've been listening to. They're just like they swear by Morfydd Clark, and I've never seen what she's been in before, and a lot of people are like, why is the main woman character, have to be like so ambitious and so like forward and like just like everybody get out of my way, this is my task and everything. and I guess we're gonna start getting into the criticism of the show on this latter part of the video. But I don't really have a problem with that, because if you look into, why Galadriel's in Middle Earth, it's because her father, Fëanor, I believe, he created the Silmarils from the light from the two trees, and then Morgoth, Sauron's master, stole the Silmarils, and Fëanor was like, oh heck no, he was pissed at that, and so he vowed and created this, he created this vow that's saying that, we're going to stop at nothing, do whatever you can to get these Silmarils back, because, this is like the true beauty, encapsulating this beauty and light in Valinor. And he's like, I don't care if you have to kill men, dwarves, or even our own kin. And of course, the rulers of Valinor were like, oh, what? Excuse me? You cannot be saying you're going to kill our people. And they banished them from Valinor and sent them to Middle Earth. And, that was like the Great... Is that what was called, the Great Voyage? I don't remember. And so they went over there to Middle Earth. And then after some time, the people who banished them, they're like, hey, Galadriel, you can come back. That was your father's doing. That wasn't your will. And she was like, nope, I'm going to stay in Middle Earth. I want to rule. I want to be queen. I'm going to be my own ruler and rule by my own rules. And I'm paraphrasing, of course. And she had that ambition because she was like, no, I'm going to do what I can. And you see that in the Fellowship of the Ring, when Ring at the Forbidden Pool, not the Forbidden Pool, is that what it's called? No. The Mirror, whatever it's called. Frodo tests and tempts Galadriel, and she's like, with all that power, you should have a queen. And then she's like, I passed the test, I'll mission to the west. But I mean, that was her goal, is to be this massive, powerful queen. She had that ambition, so that's straight out of the books. It's just a different ambition, She just doesn't have the ambition to get revenge on Sauron as much as she does in the show. It's more of being her own ruler. So she does have that ambition, and I mean, even just in the Lord of the Rings itself, like, you have these powerful women, like Éowyn. Without her, Witch King would be still alive. Fantastic scene in the books and scene in the films. I was just talking about this today at work, actually. Arwen in the films, if not for her, Aragorn probably wouldn't have gotten the shards of Narsil reforged and be given Narsil. Anduril, sorry. In the books, he always has a sword. And so yeah, I mean, I don't like. I thought about that like when first the show was coming out, but I'm like, it's not even that big of a deal. So like, just people are kind of going crazy about that. It's just, I'm just not convinced with her acting, and that's the gripe that I have. And it's not like she's a bad actor or actress. It's just that, and I understand she's younger, she's more ambitious, she's more maybe quick to anger, I guess you could say, and she's very passionate about her mission. So she's like, why are you guys stopping me? Like, I'm telling you, like, Sauron's still alive and you guys don't believe me. And whereas we see her older in Lord of the Rings, and she's like, hello, very just like wise, because she's seen so much, she's been around for so long. The accent it's just different. Again, I'm just so used to Cate Blanchett's character. But I have hope that she's going to be this really great character. End of episode 2, we see a big ship coming, and we've seen that character. I'll leave it at that. So it'll be interesting to see what tomorrow's episode, because today is Wednesday night, and I hope to have this posted like bada bing ba boom. So yeah, we'll see how that happens. Let's move on to the dwarves. Not crazy about the dwarven armor of the guards when they first opened the gate, the little door of Khazad-dûm. It just kind of looked a little wonky to me. But again, it evolves over the years and it changes. But I love, like, the beards were the top of the beards were protected by armor, and then like the beards were so long, like they had them wrapped in like in a not a coin, was in this, like almost like a bangle, on the side of their armor, which was really cool. Again, I love the Khazad-dûm and the dwarves and all that. when they're having that contest, it was really cool to see all the different dwarves, and the makeup was just spot on. I feel like it was just like such a disappointment in the Hobbit trilogy. Like half of the dwarves look like just men, and the other dwarves look perfect, and it was like hit or miss in the Hobbit trilogy. But with this, just like they all looked really awesome, like the big noses and like all this huge beardage and this like kind of ruffian armor, and they're just dirty because they're all working in the mines. And then I knew they were going to be the Dwarven women, and I was pleasantly surprised with them. I didn't know what to expect, if they were going to have full-on beards. But like Prince Durin's wife, she just has a little scraggly little beard like down here, and I thought that was really cool, really funny. That's one other thing people are getting upset about because they're an interracial couple. I don't get, like, that's the biggest thing. And okay, let me finish this. I only have like a couple more bullet points to make about the men, and then we're done, and we'll go back to this whole race thing about the show. But yeah, I don't know, whatever. Interracial couple, people are not liking that about the dwarves. I can't wait to see the dwarves fight. That's going to be so cool. I don't know if we're going to get that in the show, but that'd be awesome. Even just like Prince Durin or something, just like helping Elrond fight, that'd be cool. The race of men in the Southlands. In the Southlands, seemingly they're close to Mordor is what I'm assuming. I heard that the town that they are in the show is a completely make-believe town. I forget what it's called. But it's suffice to say that they're probably in the lands of Mordor or around there. I don't think they're really close to Gondor. I mean, well, Mordor's close to Gondor, but I don't think they're in the realm of Gondor. I think they're more east or maybe southeast. Maybe even going towards Rune. I don't know. But nothing super interesting about the race of men. They're just like your typical medieval town, like your typical show of medieval people, like in The Witcher, or like, the people of the North in Game of Thrones, kind of like they're just there. But I'm interested to see how the world of men's gonna be developed in this show. I don't know how much they're gonna do it. If you guys don't know, Elrond's brother, Elros, he chooses to be a man, and he is the one who develops the Kingdom of Numenor, who develops this line of kings, and who eventually have the king Elendil and his son Isildur. If you don't know about those guys, I won't say anything more. And then so on and so forth. You have Aragorn as the long-lost heir to the throne of Gondor. It'd be really cool to see what they're going to do with Numenor. If they mention, talk about Arnor and the kingdoms over there. Imagine, like, oh, dude, I'm like thinking of like Angmar and like the Witch King and all that stuff. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. Like, if you guys haven't played the Battle for Middle Earth games, there's the 1-2 expansion for 2, which is called the Witch King, Rise of the Witch King. So awesome. And you get to like Numenor, Arnor, Rhudaur, all those kingdoms. So cool. Okay. One note I didn't make on this sheet was the Harfoots. They're like whatever to me. They didn't get the rights to call them hobbits, so they call them Harfoots. So they're kind of like, they'll evolve into the hobbits of the Shire, and nothing crazy. Like they're cute. You kind of have. I feel like they have to have that kind of character in the show to make it more, or make it less serious, I guess. Again, nothing crazy. I don't know who I like better, the race of men or the Harfoots. It's just. I don't know, the Harfoots, it just kind of cheapens the show in parts, just because it's like you want them to be hobbits, you want to call them hobbits, but you can't. Again, it's a nitpick. It's the minutia of that part of the show. And interested, at the very least, to see what those wolves or early wargs are going to be like. We see in the trailer that this wizard, or not the wizard, the strange man, who I think is a wizard, not a main wizard, but not like Gandalf or anything, but you see him using magic, and like the wolves are like, or whatever. But yeah, it's not Gandalf, just because chronologically it wouldn't be him, but who knows with this show, because they're messing with that. And 2, because Gandalf was the last of the Maiar to come to Middle Earth, and he was like, first of all, he didn't want to go to Middle Earth. Secondly, he was super, like, they're supposed to be super humble and super, like, I mean, yeah, have humility when they came, so they weren't supposed to, like, announce their presence, that they're like, oh, I'm coming from the heavens to help you guys out. So a lot of people are thinking that it's just like a made-up character, like they did with Arondir, and Bronwyn, or like Tariel from The Hobbit. It might just be like a made-up wizard character. Some people are saying it's Sauron, but again, I don't think so, because he's all the way in the south when we know he's going to help forge the rings in the High North. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I think we'll get some more notes tomorrow on episode 3 about what that's going to be like. Now, all my notes are out of the way. Okay, that fell. This is probably part 2 of these videos, because I know the first part was like 30 minutes, so I'm sorry for that. And so let's just read this post that the Instagram put out, and it disappeared off my phone. That's awesome. Let me go back to it. Okay, so they posted this 7 hours ago. We stand in solidarity with our cast. # you are welcome here. We, the cast of Rings of Power, stand together in absolute solidarity and against the relentless racism, threats, harassment, and abuse some of our castmates of color are being subjected to on a daily basis. We refuse to ignore it or tolerate it. J.R.R. Tolkien created a world which, by definition, is multicultural. I'll make a note there. A world in which free peoples from different races and cultures join together in fellowship to defeat the forces of evil. 100% agree with you. Rings of Power reflects that. Okay? Our world has never been all white. Fantasy has never been all white. Middle Earth has never been, or Middle Earth is not all white. Interesting that they use those choice of words. BIPOC, B-I-P-O-C, belong in Middle Earth, and they are here to stay. Finally, all our love and fellowship go out to the fans supporting us. Really milking using the word fellowship, especially fans of color. They switched the changing of color this time, who are themselves being attacked simply for existing in this fandom. We see you, your bravery and endless creativity. Your cosplays, fan cams, fan art, and insights make this community a richer place and remind us of our purpose. You are valid, you are loved, and you belong. You are integral. You are an integral part of the LOTR family. Thanks for having our backs. Namari. I like the little Quenya at the end. That was cool. Okay. Created a world which by definition is multicultural, obviously because of the different races, the dwarves, the elves, the men, hobbits, so on and so forth. A world in which free peoples from different races and cultures join together in fellowship to defeat the forces of evil, 100%. The fellowship is the example of that. You have men, elves, dwarves, wizards, and hobbits in that group. Our world has never been all white, 100% true. Fantasy has never been all white, 100% true. Middle Earth is not all white. Why didn't they say Middle Earth has never been all white? Why did you change your words? Because, and then they're gonna get canceled here. A little bit about me. I'm debating on how to go about this. I look white. I ain't gonna front on that. But I am half Mexican and half Portuguese. Come from immigrant parents who immigrated to this country, and I speak Spanish and Portuguese as well as English, obviously. And because this day and age, if you're a certain race, you can't have an opinion on race. So I preface that only to say that a lot of the criticism with the show is because Tolkien had wrote, and I mentioned it in I think in the first part of these videos, is that Tolkien wrote all his works, Middle Earth, to be the western part of Europe, thousands of years before our own historical knowledge and written text and all that stuff. And I don't believe specifically he said like all my characters are Caucasian, but historically speaking, the people of Western Europe were predominantly, if not dominantly, or all of white skin. Let's put it that way, Caucasian skin. And that's not to say that people of color don't live there now or never lived there. That was just how the world was created, in the sense that that's just how he wrote it and that's what he said. And I'm not saying like you can't adjust that for modern times or whatever. I'm just saying why people are getting upset at that, because they're like, well, Tolkien said this. And for a while that's what I thought, and I'm like, you have to abide by that. But I'm just kind of like, why does it matter anymore? In the sense of, as long as you have equality, and what I mean by having equality is that you can have strong white characters and you can have strong people of color, and they coexist and coincide in a show, in a movie, in a story as a whole, and that's perfect. But a lot of times what these shows and movies today are doing is that anybody who's Caucasian, they're brought down, was the people who are of color, they bring them up. And to me, that's not equality. You're bringing another group down, and yeah, okay, what's the big deal of bringing down a group who have been always bringing down other people? I get it. And I don't 100% disagree with you. It's just that you have to fight discrimination with equality. You can't fight discrimination with more discrimination. And I think that the Rings of Power are doing a pretty good job with it, in the sense that they have Arondir, who's a pretty awesome character already, I think. You have Prince Dern's wife. Well, I don't think she's going to be a big character, but she's there. You know, she's someone of color. You have, there's, I think, a queen. Oh gosh, in the trailer it shows these two queens. They're people of color. We'll see what they're doing, but specifically just focus on Arondir, who's, I call him the caramel elf, as we talked about earlier. You have him, who I think, you know, they're like, okay, he's a prominent figure, and to me, like, oh gosh, dude, like, I watch one of my favorite Marvel shows on Netflix was Luke Cage. You know, my brother was super into hip hop and reggae when he was growing up, and he influenced me with that. And so Luke Cage, if you haven't watched it, come on, what are you doing, Marvel fans? If you haven't watched that, it's great. It's on Disney Plus, but just full of like such a great, and Iron Fist too. They're both, but specifically Luke Cage, full of just amazing hip hop, like Wu-Tang. It's just like when Luke just destroys this place with Bring the Ruckus down in the background. It's so cool. Season 2, the whole Jamaican vibes, I love that. You know, but people will be like, oh, that's a show about black people, and I'm like, is it? And it's just kind of like, oh, to me, like, it just happens to be a show about a black superhero. But to me, like, it's just like, it's Luke Cage, like, he's just a like badass superhero, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's black. Well, it's okay. And or like one of my favorite YouTube channels is All Def Digital, and it's a predominantly black comedy show and channel. And again, people are like, oh, that's the show with like all the black comedians, and I'm like they're just comedians to me, and I have to like withdraw myself. I'm like, oh yeah, they happen to be black. So with like this show, Rings of Power, it's like the Arondir, he's this elf. I'm like, oh yeah, he's black. And he's like, you know, he's a pretty important character, I think, already setting up to be. And then you have Galadriel, who's a white woman, you know, actress. And I think they're pretty par up. You know, obviously Galadriel, historically in the realm of Tolkien in the books, she's a way more important character, obviously, because Arondir's make believe. And again, people are saying, you know, why did they have to make a character and he has to be black? I think because people would have been pissed if they made like a character who was already established in Tolkien, they made him person of color, because people would have been like, oh my gosh. It's just like, I mean, and then Elon Musk tweeted something today too, or last night, just about how first like Tolkien would be twisting in his grave or turning in his grave or something, and then he also said that why are all the men cowards? And at least Galadriel's the only person who's like courageous and nice or something like that, which I didn't think so. I thought Arondir was pretty courageous. Elrond, he's just trying to be an elven lord, as we saw in the first episode, because again, he's Elrond half elven. He's not a full-blood elf. He has the option of being elf or man. He chose to be elf, and his brothers chose to be man, and he's just trying to get in the good graces of the king. Poor guy. So I don't know what Elon Musk is talking about. People are saying it's just like a conspiracy to like drive stuff from Tesla against Amazon, whatever. But yeah, the whole race thing, it's just again, I was on like the wagon of like, yes, Tolkien wrote that it was, Western Europe and blah blah blah, but then like I see the show, I'm like, who freaking cares, dude? Like, I'm just happy to have Lord of the Rings back in like the talk of everybody, like. But I did comment, because one of my really good friends / coworkers, he's Hmong, and we both kind of like made the joke, like, where's the Asian people at in the show? Where's that representation, And we actually commented on this post, like, I'm seeing it still, like, he's like, where's the Asian cast members at? And I said, where's the Asian people at though too? Being facetious, but also true, like, why is always, like, you talk about people of color and it's always, black? And of course, like, I would say in America, they're the biggest marginalized group. But obviously, like, me coming from a Latin American genealogy, it's a big word. Coming from a Hispanic background, and my dad, I mean, I'm pretty pale. I mean, I got my mom's genes for sure. But my dad's pretty dark, and like, one thing I'm excited about the Andor series, with Diego Luna, I believe is his name. He's born in Mexico City, and that's so cool to hear a Mexican accent in Star Wars. Like, what? That is awesome. And he kind of looks like me. He's got a beard, he's lighter skin. It's really cool to see him, and that's exciting. Just like Oscar Isaac, he's Guatemalan. And that's really cool to see, and all, like, when he was in Robin Hood, when he was in obviously in Star Wars, and now he's in Moon Knight. Like, that's so cool because he's like somebody like who speaks Spanish like me, so it's pretty cool. So I mean, it's not like I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I get it. You want that representation, and it feels good because, as people say, you don't want a bunch of whiteys all the time, but it's just because of, I mean, if you want to say the systemic racism and all that stuff, and how the world has been for a long time, it was men and who were white in Hollywood, and because they were the ones who created all that stuff, and so on and so forth, and that's why, like, they were the ones predominantly in films and shows and everything like that. But all that to say is just people. I think people are too sensitive these days in general. And by that, and I'm trying to go quick because my battery just told me it's dying. And I gotta wrap this up because the time frame is going. I just think people are too sensitive these days. Too sensitive to change, and change. I use that term loosely. I don't think that I think that Tolkien's world and his creations needs to be respected, and not to change it and to contradict itself. I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that they don't contradict the world of Tolkien, and I don't think they will. But just to respect it. And when it comes to, like, the race thing, just like I said, people are too sensitive. For one part, on the side of the people who are like, I don't want anybody of color, like, dude, like, get off your high horse, like, it's not that big of a deal. 2 or 3, I guess, people on the other side, just like, let them hate. Like, there's always going to be trolls, there's always going to be people who hate something for whatever reason it might be. And I get race as a more flammable topic, is that the right word? And that, that needs to be corrected, obviously. It's just like, let's just enjoy the show. And I mean, let the big companies, like Amazon and like those people, like those kind of people, let them block all these people, let them do whatever they gotta do. But let's just enjoy the show. Let's like literally enjoy the show. Enjoy Rings of Power. Enjoy House of Dragons. You know, enjoy this like really golden age of TV and movies. And you know, I'm like I'm not trying to partake in like one of my favorite YouTubers, Tyrone Magnus. If you don't know him, he's great reaction guy, and he did his review of the 2 episodes as well. But he goes, I'm just enjoying, you know, people just going at each other's throats, and I'm just like, I'm gonna watch my shows and let you guys know if it's cool or not. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm the same way. Like, I'm not gonna partake in it. Let people just rage at each other, and I'm just gonna like, it was 116 here where I live, and today was at 113. It is too hot to be getting angry right now. You know, murder rates and crime rates go up in the summer because it's so hot. I'm just trying to chill, man. Chill. It's just crazy. So, with all that being said, and I'm sure I'm going to think about 100 different things that I forgot to mention, but I'm excited. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Let me know what you guys think about in the comments. Try to refrain from being negative. I'm just going to delete your comment. But just let me know what you guys think. And what is your speculations for episode 3? I'm going to try to do a recap video like this, hopefully way shorter, every episode, and maybe we'll do House of Dragons as well if that's of interest. We're a little bit more behind on House of Dragons, but let me know, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys next time.